A very, very good afternoon, and a warm welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine, presented by Pick n Pay, coming to you live from Cape Wine 2022. It has finally arrived after not just months, years of anticipation. Anybody who is anybody in the world of wine is in Cape Town for 3 tremendous days, and a whole pile of events either side that makes this the focus of the world of wine. And I got in this morning and already blown away the number of people, the quality of wine, just the whole setup is magnificent, which probably explains the breadth of smile on the face of my very first guest. Morena, welcome. And first of all, congratulations, this looks amazing.
Thanks so much, Dan. It is a combination of roughly 18 months of work by the Wines of South Africa team. And walking in here when I came yesterday afternoon, I was personally blown away. It's fantastic, and it's something that we are super proud of. So wonderful to be able to provide this wonderful platform to our producers to showcase their amazing wines to people from all over the world, and of course South Africa too.
It's great to look at. There's loads of fabulous wine. It could just be an enormous party, but there is a little more fundamental to that. We've spoken about it a lot, but give us a reminder, why are we having Cape Wine? What hopefully are we getting out of this by the end of the week?
So this is in fact the 10th edition of Cape Wine.
Congratulations.
Thank you, 10 years old. It usually takes place every 3 years, but we've had a bit of a hiatus this time round, and it's been 4 years since the last one in 2018. And the idea is to create a platform for South African wine producers to showcase their wines to wine trade and media from around the world. So buyers, importers, agents, retailers, they have all been invited to come to Cape Wine and really experience the South African wine industry on our doorstep. Coming to South Africa and experiencing the hospitality and the beauty of what we have here is something that is really second to none. We can go to Provine every year and we can have our stands there, but to bring them here, to entertain them and to let them experience true South African hospitality here is really what it's all about. So the show itself, taking place over the 3 days, is really the showcase and where we get to put our best foot forward.
I've already met a number of people from different parts of the world who've come in. They're having a fantastic time so far, and they're enjoying not just the wine, because you've got quite a big program of events happening around the expo itself, and that kicked off this morning, and that was quite an important morning for you.
It was. We had our opening seminar. We were joined by Minister of Agriculture and Land Reform, Minister Toko Didiza, for our opening seminar as a keynote speaker, as well as Antonio Amarim, the CEO of Amarim Corp, the Chief Finance Officer, shall I say, of our title partner, DHL, and also an agricultural economist from Nedbank, Isaac Machejo. And they all shared some insights of not only what their organizations are doing to help, but the picture as they see it. Speaking particularly to our theme for Cape Wine, which is Sustainability 360. The theme itself speaks to 3 pillars. The pillars of planet, people and prosperity. So environmental sustainability, social sustainability, and of course financial sustainability. Without any of these pillars, we wouldn't have a sustainable industry. And that is very important. So that is the focus. And then of course the other side of the 360 refers to the history of our industry. We are celebrating 363 years of existence of the South African wine industry, which is pretty cool.
I think people sometimes need to remember that. We might be new world, but we've got some rich history to us. We've also got an extraordinary collection of people in this industry, and just wandering around, seeing some of them today. You've been with Woza for a while now. How proud are you of the South African wine industry when you walk through these aisles and you see what everybody's put together, from the quality of the wine, it's just the energy they've thrown into their stands?
It's insane, and it's actually quite humbling, to be honest, to walk through here, to see the smiles on people's faces, to see them pouring the wine, telling everyone their unique stories of what they do and why they do it. I think to be able to be an ambassador for our industry and the spokesperson for the South African wine industry it just really fills me with so much pride and so much joy to see this happening behind us. I came in, the opening seminar only finished at about 10 to 11, and I came walking in here and it was absolutely bustling. I kind of hit me, and it took me about 20 minutes to walk about 100 meters, just saying hi to everyone, and everyone's so happy and saying how amazing it looks. Pride is right at the top of the list, but also pride in the Wines of South Africa team who have worked so hard to pull all of this together. It's phenomenal. The local team have all done their bits. So many cogs that work together to make this kind of thing happen, as well as the international team who are all busy entertaining their guests from their various markets. So it's quite a monster of an operation, but I just keep coming back to the word pride.
It is a huge operation. You're involved in running most of it, so I know you've got lots of stuff to get done. Before we let you run off, though, it's not just about these 3 days. It's about what comes out of these 3 days. Do you genuinely feel that this is going to be a watershed moment for South African wine in terms of how our immediate horizons start to open up?
I think so. Cape Wine couldn't have come at a better time, to be honest with you. We haven't had an international presence in terms of big shows. Provine, which is the big show that we usually attend, we haven't had a presence at since about 2019. So having Cape Wine now gives our producers the opportunity to really showcase what they've been up to for the past few years when they didn't have a lot else to do. And it really gives us the opportunity to reposition ourselves and take the industry forward once again. There's a lot of excitement in the industry. The last few vintages have been excellent, and I think our producers are ready to go the next level. We have a very big sense of pride. That word keeps coming back for me, and I do believe that each and every one will showcase it. We've got some fun things happening. We've got some serious things happening. As you said, lots of events, really just bringing home what we stand for as an industry. And listening to some of the feedback that some of our guests have given me to date has been that they've never experienced anything like it before. People who've never been to South Africa, who came with some preconceived ideas, that just said they've been totally blown away by the experience. And this is what we're about. This is what we can proudly stand up, stand tall, and shout out from the rooftops, because we don't need to stand back for anyone. And to see our producers really embrace that attitude is special.
All right, well, it's a brilliant week, and we're only a couple of hours into it. Enjoy the rest of it. I'm not sure we're going to get the energy to get through all of it, but well done to you and your team. It's a great celebration of South African wine, and you mentioned pride, where you've got every reason to be hugely proud of what you put together.
Thanks so much, Dan. Enjoy the show.
I certainly will. So there we go, Morena, who is looking at basically the entire event from Cape Wine, and as she slips off to go and taste some wine, we've got an American guest who is coming in to join us, representing the DGB team, who's come over. We're going to be speaking to a number of guests. I think Mike Ratcliffe's joining us, Duncan Savage, Weber from Delheim's joining us, Graham from Capensis, a really cool group of guests. But we thought, because the world has come to Cape Town for Cape Wine, that we'd bring some of the world into the show today, and do so with somebody from the Cape DGB Empire, and that would be Clay. Welcome.
Hey, great. Thanks for having me.
Well, welcome to the show. Welcome to Cape Town. What do you make of Cape Wine so far?
Well, so far so good. Lovely group, great wines, and well, we'll see how I feel 3 days from now. How about that?
Give us a sense of what your role is, what you do in the wine world, and why South African wine, as I understand it, has got into your blood a little.
Well, I manage the U.S. business for DGB, which is a significant producer of independent wines in South Africa, as you know. And so we have a network of importers. They sell to their network of distributors, and I'm just trying to make sure that everyone's happy along the supply chain.
Give us a sense, and I know it's a massive market and it's a very split market, a difficult one for people to come into, but your understanding of where South African wine sits in the eyes of most American consumers.
Well, I think that the sort of average American consumer doesn't realize that South Africa is a wine producer at all. I think our number is currently at 1.3% of the market, so they've got a lot of room to grow. Having said that, it's a very large country. There's a lot of opportunity to tell stories, and we have this wonderful story here of 350 years of history. And it's sort of my elevator pitch for folks is it's the perfect combination of both old and new world stylistically, right? So obviously we're using, generally speaking, French techniques and French varietals, but that we have the climate that could be considered new world. And so in fact, I think we're the best of both worlds. And to answer your earlier question, I think that's where it sort of got into my blood, is I realized that two things. Number one, that the quality is fantastic, which everyone that's here will see. But the other thing is it's an opportunity to grow and to tell that story to an audience that doesn't know that story.
I suspect it's a story that you yourself had to learn at some point. What was your introduction to South African wine?
Well, so I worked for wineries from around the world, including Italian, especially. But I was my first job in the wine business that involved South African wines was representing the wines of Grand-Bec. And of course, those sparkling wines are synonymous with the U.S. market. Sparkling wine from South Africa in the U.S. market dominates the market share there. And so that's where I came to meet all of my South African friends, including the company that I work for now, DGB, which has what we consider to be a very strong competitor in Bacchadal sparkling wines.
The wines that we are seeing here today represent an extraordinary array, the styles, the interpretations, the different varietals. Is that more of an advantage or more of a challenge when you're selling South African wine, given that we almost have the handicap of doing too much too well?
Well, I think that there's a real benefit in having a marketing story that you can latch onto. And so I think that the marketing story for South Africa, obviously everything you say is true, but Pinotage is the signature red, Chenin Blanc is the signature white. That is our entry point in terms of storytelling in the U.S. And so we can certainly expand out into stories like sparkling wine or Bordeaux varietals. But by and large, I think that what you need is a hook, a marketing hook. Certainly Andrew Harris would tell you the same. And I think that what we have with the DGB portfolio and South Africa in a more global sense is something that we can talk about. We are the most significant producers of Chenin Blanc in the world, and that we also have a red varietal that's come a long way stylistically, Pinotage, that is uniquely South African. So I think anything that we can say that is a marketing hook, something that is that you can start the story with. Everything is an elevator pitch, and that's where I like to start. Yeah. After the whole old world, new world thing, which I already told
you. You've come here obviously as part of the DGB team, but it gives you the opportunity to explore well beyond that. And this expo is brimming with fantastic wine. It's fairly early on so far, but the explorations you've done, seeing where South African wine is beyond just your segment, how excited are you?
Well, not today, but in previous visits, and just as a sort of a general education that I need to do to better do my job. I think that there's so many exciting things happening in South Africa. I think that South Africa as an industry, and seen on our map over there, is learning to go higher and higher up the hillsides to get more freshness in the wines. I think with Friars Cove, we've got something very unique. It's a West Coast appellation, which most folks, even in South Africa, aren't as familiar with as you would be in the Western Cape as a global sense. But I think that Cabernet Franc as a red variety is coming on strong. A lot of mono varietal Cabernet Francs are showing to be some of the better red wines coming out of South Africa right now. I think that Semillon, even though it is a long-standing varietal that a lot of people trained on, the new Semillons in the Western Cape are as exciting as ever.
We do have a lot of wine to play around with, a lot of wine to explore. With the wine that we have, the wine that we're sending over, it doesn't matter how good it is, you've still got to sell the stuff. What, from your perspective, are we doing right, and not just as DGB, but as a South African wine industry, and where could we maybe improve a little?
Well, I think that the good news is that the market in the U.S. and generally around the world is premiumizing, if that's a word.
It is now.
It is now. And so one thing that you might say was done wrong in the past is to be only associated with cheap and cheerful. For the U.S., that would be under $10. That is the market segment that is faltering now. we're seeing sort of wines, I'm speaking obviously US dollars, closer to $20 is where the growth is now. So the premiumization of South Africa is something that is happening and needs to continue to happen. Also the focus on terroir, the focus on specific styles within specific regions or at specific altitudes, like I mentioned earlier, is the opportunity, because again, it's more of a story to tell, and it's more of the disabusing of this notion that South Africa is only about the cheap and cheerful, the cheapest possible wines that would be sold in grocery stores, but actually more premium and world class in quality.
I'm really glad to hear that. It's something I think we're seeing in a lot of parts of the world, and it's long overdue, celebrating our wine. How far are we to have an American market take a top wine that you're selling and say, right, yeah, that we can put that up there with a really good French or Italian and accept that the price point is not dissimilar?
Well, I think that we have a long way to go, truthfully. But I also think that one of the benefits is unfortunately for South Africans, but good for Americans, is the conversion rate, right? So in fact, we are offering wines that would be sold from, let's say, French or Italian, as you mentioned, for $100 or more, but they're not going to be near that in US dollar terms. Thanks to the conversion rate. So I think that's good. That allows us, that's one more piece of the story that says that we can actually deliver wines of world-class premium value at a lesser price point. So you can save a little bit of money, thanks to the vagaries of conversion rates.
Yeah, what that smile is, Clay's already bought 4 houses since he's been here this week. He's having a great time.
Well, I'm certainly eating well.
I'm sure you are. The wine that is being drunk, country of 300 million people, give or take. You can't say, well, Americans like this and they don't like that. It's a slightly larger audience. But is there a dominant style you're finding, dominant trend in terms of what kind of wine is really being enjoyed?
Well, I've been working in the sparkling wine space for a while, and thankfully for me and my business, sparkling is the only category between 2019 and 2021 that grew in the U.S. All of the others were contracting, but sparkling wine is growing, which means it's something that I've been preaching for years and years to people. Seems to be, the data suggests, is finally happening, which is that people are drinking sparkling wine with their dinner and at the dinner table, and something other than some sort of grand toast. So what we've always said as people that sell sparkling wines is, you can drink this with your meal. That this is something that is not should not be relegated only to a toast. And so the numbers are suggesting that people are drinking sparkling wine on a more regular basis and in more occasions than ever before. And so that's obviously very exciting to us at Barcelona.
I love hearing that. It's something we're seeing here as well. It's certainly not just an American challenge, but it's long overdue. And when we get wine like Graham Beck, it's certainly there for it. Final question for you before we let you get back and sample some more wine. What are you most excited about South African wine as we look to hopefully see this particular event as a real market history for South African wine?
Right. I think improving the rising tide, improving quality across all styles, across all regions. I think that the headroom, to me, yes, making wine for 300 plus years, but the story is in its infancy, right? We have so much to talk about here with producers, styles, regions, varietals, and quality above all else. And so I just think that the thing that is most exciting to me is the opportunity to keep telling that story, because it is a fresh story. As I mentioned earlier, many Americans wouldn't even think of South Africa as a wine growing destination, which means that's an opportunity to tell that story.
Thank you for sharing your story with us, Clay. We'll put some glass or two together later on.
Excellent.
And have a wonderful time in South Africa.
Right. Lovely. Nice to speak to you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks.
The global head of DGB over in America, or something to that effect, giving us an update on how the South African market is looking. And he's one of many internationals who are joining us. It's not just internationals, though, who are at Cape Wine. And it's not just wine people, because we've got one of South Africa's consistently well-dressed men. He's a fashion icon as much as he is in the wine industry, and he is joining me right now. Grab your seat, if you will, Mr. Savage.
Hey, Dan.
Looking like a sort of 70s meets Asterix, really. It's a great combination.
I've heard porn star. I've heard everything under the sun. Sorry, I've got ringing in my pocket here, which shouldn't be happening. Apologies for that.
Not at all. Look, welcome. Lovely to have you on the show, and lovely to have you as part of Cape Wine, which is it's absolutely erupted around us. I know we're all looking forward to it, but how seriously cool is this?
It's amazing. Now, listen, this thing it's next level, and I think every year it just becomes that much better. I mean, we as a zoo crew started like a little interesting stand like in the early days, and then we sort of upped the game a little bit 2018, and I think we've topped 2018 with us. It's pretty amazing. But the thing is it's all about having a jaw as well. You want to have fun about it. Everyone's here because they want to experience Cape Town and have a good time, taste the wines they want to taste, import, whatever. But if they can have fun while they do it, there's a lot of good parties. I mean, this is amazing. It gives us a chance to, have a bit of fun as well.
Tell me a bit about the zoo crew. You're not just amazing outfits and rakish good looks, but guys, I think above all, just share a philosophy around wine.
Yeah, look, I think that you should try a moustache sometime as well. It's actually quite nice.
Did it once. I got banned from going to my children's school.
Yeah, these are wonderful. They're a little bit small for me, and my daughter told me, she said, "Dad, just suck it up." No, so the Zoo Crew is a pretty amazing initiative. The idea behind the Zoo Crew was to, a bunch of us didn't want to be in a situation where we were just on a stand on our own. We wanted to go a little bit bigger, and the costs are quite prohibitive. So we started. It was a Peter Allen Finnison, or Butch, Chris Arlight, Trezan, and John Seckham kind of got the ball rolling way back. And then we sort of built it up over time. And it's been so cool because it's just that fierce thing, you throw a bunch of mates into the thing. There's a lot of camaraderie. You share the costs, which makes it easier. And I think as a group, we make an impact. So realistically, someone goes home who doesn't know about our brands, who's going to remember the Zoo Crew, they're never going to see Zoo Crew around. But it's just creating that little vibe, that bit of fierce, giving guys a good time. And slowly but surely it filters through. And they start to remember the brands, who we are. And people come now, they come looking for us, which is great.
You have come back in part because you have such a good time together, but you're also a reasonably business-minded lot, and you wouldn't be throwing so much energy into this if it didn't have an impact on your collective wines and brands. Looking back over the years, how much has Cape Wine been able to drive you guys as wine producers?
Yeah, look, I think it's interesting because if you look at Cape Wine, I only got involved, I don't know, 12, I don't know when the first one was, to be honest, I'm not sure. But if you look at South African shows around the world 15 years ago, there was interest, but not huge interest. If you look at what's happening with Brand South Africa at the moment, it's amazing. I mean, people are genuinely keen. What's not to love? You get to come to Cape Town, you get to come and taste amazing wines with a bunch of cool people. It's generally growing, almost exponentially. I mean, shows like the New Wave shows we did in London, those were next level busy. Queues out the door. Jancis Robinson stood in the queue. She doesn't.
As she should. She
stood in the queue. But the coolest thing about it is this genuine sort of interest in what we do. So it's, as much as we're promoting our own brand, we're flying the flag for South Africa. I think that it's quite cool that we can do it in Cape Town with this show. And when we do shows overseas, you're doing it in a different environment, but you're still promoting your own brand, but you're flying that South African flag, because it is very much a thing. If people buy into the whole South African wine thing, they're going to buy into everyone's wines here, So it's the rising tide lifts all boats, that sort of mentality.
I know you've got a very busy week. You've got big queues, so I won't keep you for too long. But just a final thought on what this event can do to take South African wine into an even better, bigger, more successful space.
Yeah, it's just got to keep doing it. And I think it doesn't all fall into the hands of Woza. Woza can only do so much. It's up to the producers to come and up the game a little bit. And I'm not saying everyone has to dress like an idiot and have a stand that sticks out like a sore thumb. But at the same time, in their own ways, have a bit of creativity and do things which bring people in and make people almost feel comfortable. Because I think you know what it's like. Sometimes wine can be a little bit, these are generally wine professionals, but wine can be a little bit intimidating. I think by taking that sort of, that bringing that fun element into it, it's less intimidating. It warms people to our place. And the beauty of it is that Cape Town does most of the job for us. It's a no-brainer. You're here, you're inside now, but you're still experiencing Cape Town. You're seeing this beautiful city. The weather's going to be amazing Friday, Saturday. So the guys are going to finish up with massive hangovers on Saturday. But at least it's going to be a nice day.
There we go. The Tim Atkin winemaker there, Duncan Savage. Basically, if Austin Powers and a Free State traffic cop had a kid, this would be it. Duncan, have a wonderful week. We'll see you in the Zoo Crew over the course of the next few days. And thanks you.
Dan.
There we go.
Man.
Duncan Savage, who is not just Tim Atkin's favourite, he's the favourite of many and making some terrific wine. More importantly, though, dressed superbly along with the rest of the Zoo Crew. I've seen Jean, I've seen Peter Allen. They're all looking amazing, and we'll have a few more of them on the show as the week unfolds. Right now, though, let's go to somebody who's far more sensibly dressed than Duncan Savage. Graham, lovely to have you.
Yeah.
Welcome. Everyone I'm speaking to already, it's just above and beyond the actual being here part, is just the excitement of how good it looks and how much energy there is in this room.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing to see all the energy. There's people bouncing around and looking at, and getting out there. You know, it started last week already. People rocking up at the winery and at the vineyard coming to see what's going on. So it's been a long couple of days. Yeah, and it's going to get longer.
I was looking at your Capensis brand, as we mentioned a little earlier, in London just 2 days ago, and normally you see a wine that's quite expensive. Oh, no, I wish it wasn't so much. I got so proud when I saw a bottle of South African Capensis sitting in Hedonism in Mainfair, I think 184 pounds, which is about 7 million rand, and seeing a great South African bottle of wine being sold for what it should be sold for in and amongst acclaimed international company. That's such a good thing to see.
Yeah, that's been our mission from the word go. Yeah, that's why we are obviously US based out of the US, and I just finished a conversation with somebody the other day. Barbara, who's part of the ownership structure, is extremely ambitious. She's ambitious in everything she does. When she's searching for vineyards around the world, which she does, and it's like going shopping for handbags. That's what she does. Buys a vineyard here, buys a vineyard there. But there was ambitious projects, and that's where she wants to be. And she had no illusion of coming to South Africa and doing anything different. You know, it wasn't going to come down here and do a bargain basement offering, but she wants to do something which is right at the top of the line. And we felt comfortable doing it with Chardonnay.
You're part of a story that is just starting to gain traction. We had Clay from DGB in America talking about how people are starting to see South African wine in that space and no longer in the, well, I've only got $3 to spare, so I'll get some South African. It's not an easy one to get through, but it seems that thanks to guys like you, progress on that perception of South Africa as a wine brand is changing.
Yeah, well, without a doubt. I've actually just relocated back from California back here for a reason, because I think it's one of the most exciting wine regions to work in right now. And not, it's been like that for a long time, but the evolution has come to a point now where we feel we can stand in that area. But it takes a tremendous amount of education. And one thing about Jackson Family Wines that we've done for years and years is educate people about the greatness of Californian wine, then the greatness of Oregon wine. And also everything that we do is about great vineyards and educating people about that from sort of incredible areas around the world. So that gives us, it opens those doors, and people respect us for what we do because everything that we do is at that level.
You've got all of that experience, especially in California. When you come back here to South Africa, what are you saying? What's your message? Without being the I can tell you all what to do kind of guy, but what are you saying to your counterparts here? This is what I've learned in America. This is what I think we could do better as South African wine heading to that market.
I think it's a lot to do with confidence. Sorry, my voice is gone. Talking nonsense to people. It's about confidence. It's all about confidence. It's all about it's that time of year.
All right. A reminder that Graham is many guests today. We've also got Mike Radcliffe coming up a little later. Tabor is joining us from Dalheim, and we've also got David Cartwright, I think, joining us from Seckford Agencies. They are selling wine in the UK. You're moving wine over to the US. Confidence.
So just confidence. Confidence is what we do. We grow great vineyards. We've got incredible people working in viticulture. Phenomenal scientists rolling around in this place. Just to have confidence in what we do, confidence in our sites, confidence in the wines we make, and I think we're going to fly along.
The product that we are taking abroad to be able to ask for those sorts of prices has to be good enough to demand them. I think you've already answered part of the question. You've come back here for a good reason.
Yep.
what has been for you the shift in South African wine at that higher end that now allows us to be in this space?
We no longer follow. We lead with what we believe in. I think that's the biggest change I've seen here. I was chatting to friends of mine the other day. I was at a pretty raucous 50th the other day. It's quite frightening going to 50th these days. It's like, oh shit, we were the young crowd, now we're the old guys. But it's really, many years ago, a lot of people were coming into the country telling us what to do. Like, oh yeah, you've got to use American oak on Pinotage. You've got to ripen your Shiraz to 27 bricks. I think we've moved way beyond that. We're actually understanding our places. We actually got confidence in what we're doing from a vineyard perspective. We're not listening to every single sort of knucklehead rolling through town telling us what to do. And guys are confident about what they're doing from their spaces and their places. I think that's the best part about it for me at the moment.
I spent most of August in Greece, where the evolution of Greek wine is the understanding of their own terroir, their own grapes, and making them on their own terms. I think we're in many places, a little further ahead of that here, but also really starting to own it.
Oh, absolutely. I think people are owning varieties that are working. A true understanding of their places, and that's coming. That's coming. Like the estate system's working. There's guys who believe in their terroir. Their vineyards that haven't even been discovered yet. Which the Old Vine project that they're doing a phenomenal job of unearthing some of those great vineyards, which were going into big tall blends back in the day, and now they're making some of the most fantastic wines on planet Earth. And forget about just locally. We have to see ourselves as a global player. We have to be completely and utterly focused on being global and telling that story. But it also means pounding the pavement, man. It's the most incredible thing. You have to go take the bag, walk from restaurant to restaurant, high-end restaurant in New York, in San Francisco, in Los Angeles, and actually tell the story and bounce around. It's a lot of work.
And that, by extension, is your job here this week as you man the Capensa stand. How difficult is it to keep yourself there when you're surrounded by so much amazing wine in the restaurant?
No, it's crazy. It is a crazy thing. You just have to employ a couple of people to stand around there. We've got everyone. It's like a full court press. We've got everyone from the winery, from the vineyard. Everyone's coming in to help out in the next couple of days. We've got some guys from the UK, another one from France. They're all having to help out. So everyone's standing there pouring a little bit. So it's luckily not all on my shoulders, thank God, because it's crazy.
Well, I'm going to come and try some of your £184 Chardonnay a little later on.
Cheaper the price. It's funny, we tasted against a couple of different Chardonnays from around the world on Monday, and we were comfortable in that space. The most expensive one was $350, and we were pretty comfortable there. No worries. So,
lovely to have you on the show. Welcome back to South Africa.
Thanks.
And thank you.
Thanks for your time.
Capensa's a little bit of American, South African expertise in it's just got such a multicultural feel. This particular Cape wine. Yes, it's focused on South African wine, but there are people from all over the world. We're going to be meeting some of them over the course of the the next few days. But let's jump to another South African winemaker and welcome in. You'll know her from the show. We've now got it in person, which is extra exciting. Untitled, welcome. Lovely to see you.
Good to see you again.
And generally there's a smile on your face, but it looks extra big today because this is just such a fun event to be at.
Exactly. Like, I haven't been to one of these on the other side of the stand, and it's so exciting, the vibe that you feel as well. And you can feel the excitement from people to be able to actually be here today and showcase their wines and taste the wines. It's just, the past few years, we haven't been able to do such an exciting thing. And this is just fun, exciting.
I think it would have been fun and exciting anyway, but after the last few years that we've had with lockdowns and alcohol bans and coronaviruses, there's a real spring in the step of everybody.
Exactly. So it's just so good to see. I don't know, maybe I'm also feeding off that. It's quite exciting, yeah.
You've also got the chance to feed off the expertise, the knowledge, the camaraderie of this room. How important is it to you as a winemaker to have this time to meet other winemakers, taste other wine, and be part of this great community?
It's beautiful. For me, every time there's such an opportunity to actually meet my colleagues in the wine industry, you get an exchange of knowledge that you wouldn't get if you're like stuck in your own bubble. And then to be here, and then you just get exposed to so many regions, so many winemakers and their way of thinking, and you get to see where everyone's thinking is heading towards in terms of winemaking and and it's just really great to sort of benchmark yourself as well, how you are doing, and it's really fun. It's really fun.
I think the last time we spoke, you had quite an exciting German project on the go, a collaboration going.
Going really well. So we have a bit under the table.
I know where I'm headed.
So just we bought a sample to just taste a bit. We're planning still to release it next year in March. And it's aging beautifully. It's doing really, really well. It's got still nice fruits, and the acidity is still on German levels, if I can call it that. But we're still working on that. But very, very exciting project, and you will enjoy it. Come through. Anyone else?
It is very firmly in my sights, and happily so. And it speaks to something that so many of our South African winemakers have, and you have in abundance, and that is that sense of adventure. Whether it's telling your boss that you want to take over his job, which you've done in the past and then done it, or making wine like this. How much more does a gathering like this inspire you to broaden those horizons further, to do even more as part of the wine scene?
I mean, like, we have so many international people, firstly, and then with that you get to like connect and see, okay, the South African market, yes, does this, but what does the rest of the world do? And then there's always that curiosity to find out. And like the past 3 weeks, actually, I was in Germany, so working with Christoph. I was in Christoph's place, and that was also one of the exciting things, to sort of be able to see what they do on that side and see if I can integrate some of that with us. And it's just with being here as well, you sort of get to exchange those ideas and information with other winemakers. So this is an amazing platform to do that. Yeah.
It's also one that has the opportunity to really spread the gospel of South African wine. How much for you, for Delheim, is this week about not just 3 days of having lots of fun, but of ensuring that the future is even brighter?
Exactly. So this whole platform really is to actually get the brands out there, to meet the people out there in the world that represent us, and get the message across, as well as connect a bit more. And that's pretty much what we are trying to do here. And for me, for Delheim, is actually trying to get the brand as, I don't know, more recognized, not really, but it's there, out there, but for people to understand and know our story and what we stand for. So this is a great platform to do that for us.
Let's set aside Noteba the winemaker for a second and just go with Noteba the wine fan and the wine drinker.
Yes.
Which other stands are you really excited about visiting this week?
Oh my gosh, okay. This is
it's a long list.
It's a long list. But for today, because I've met quite a lot of people now with the wine course I've been doing, and I've met people in the university, so now it's quite exciting for me to taste the new young winemakers that are coming into the scene. So their wine, so I've just been going through and tasting that now, and it's just been exciting to see what talent is out there and what the future holds. So it's a long list. There's a long list. There's just so much to taste, and I still have 3 days to get through all of that.
And people think we're not working hard here. I don't know where they'd get that idea.
It's a lot of work. I don't know what they're talking about.
We know we've got the project in hand, and we're going to have that little sneak taste of it just now. But above and beyond that, with the next few harvests in Delheim, do you feel that you're starting to put your own signature on what's coming out of the cellar?
It's gonna probably the next year or two. It's gonna start showing a bit. Because the past few years it's just been guidance, and I've been there, part of the team, and then a lot of more of me, I suppose, is also going to show up in the next few years. So hopefully this bubbliness will come up in the wine. But we still like to ensure that the terroir, we express the authenticity of where we come from and where the wine or the grapes grow up or are planted. So that's pretty much where we stand on that. So a lot of me will come in the winemaking, but a lot of it will be with Delheim is under the Simmonsburg Mountain. Yeah.
I'm really excited to see what does emerge. I know you've got lots of wine to explore, so we won't keep you too much longer. But just finally, from back to a winemaker's perspective, when you look at kind of where we are, what we're doing, what do you think most excites you about the South African wine industry at the moment?
The fact that there's so much. It's overwhelming.
That's a very good answer.
Yeah, it's overwhelming and exciting as well that you just have such a huge variety of wines and such a huge choice, and we are never bored really. So today I can try something new, and try something new tomorrow, and then next week I'm still gonna be exploring, discovering new wines, and that's pretty much what is exciting about South Africa. Besides the fact that we're still like considered a young a new world winemaking region. Besides that, we still have a lot more to do as well, and a lot more to discover within ourselves.
Finally, if somebody's arrived at Cape Wine and they've never had South African wine before, I'm not sure if this can actually happen, but in theory it did. How would you start them off? What would your words of advice be in terms of this is how to get your introduction to South African wine?
Oh my word. First come with the game plan. So usually you choose a cultivar, then you tackle that cultivar for those few hours, and then you move on to the next one. So start Chenin, and then you never go wrong with Chenin in South Africa. And that's one compliment I've also been hearing a lot with international people, that Chenin in South Africa is just so much more amazing really out there. So choose a cultivar, firstly Chenin, and then move on from there and try other cultivars. So rather come with a game plan, because this is a big room to tackle.
And make sure you try some secret Riesling at some point.
Yes, you do.
Dear, no, it was lovely to catch up with you. And I also do have to apologise because I was supposed to come out and visit you, and unfortunately my injured leg prevented that. But I'm really looking forward to doing that and to trying some of the wine and sampling some of the history that you guys can lay claim to.
Okay, thank you so much. No, I look forward to seeing you.
I shall be there.
Let me know.
All right, but I'll be over shortly to try the wine.
Okay.
The hidden stuff under the counter.
Yes.
There we go. That is Untitled Chapter, the winemaker. It's a really cool project. Go back into the Dan Really Likes Wine archives if you have the opportunity, and have a look at the conversation we had. It's this project that is both South Africa and Germany, and it brings together some wonderful winemaking talent from two different parts of the world. You can see if you look back over my shoulder, it is a packed room here at Cape Wine with just so many people. It took me ages earlier just to move 10 or 20 feet because you keep bumping into friends from the wine world, and everyone is so excited to be together and all under the framework of Cape Wine. It's been presented by DHL, and we're going to have Craig from DHL onto the show tomorrow to chat about their involvement. It is an important involvement. We've got other guests coming up, and one of them is about to sweep his way in. And he's a very dear friend of Dan Really Likes Wine, one of our great supporters, and he has been pounding the streets of Cape Wine already for a few hours. Michael Radcliffe.
Hello, Dan.
Welcome, good to see you.
How's it going?
The Radcliffe smile is generally a fairly permanent fixture, but you're looking particularly enthused. How awesome is this?
It's pretty crazy. There's lots of good vibes out there. It's not just buyers, they're journalists. And I think South African wine's putting on its best face today.
Hey, you've got a couple of different hats that you wear, all very stylishly, of course. If we look at the Stellenbosch one as chairman of Stellenbosch Wine Routes, this is a space you spend a lot of time talking about. How do we market? How do we promote? How do we share our story? How well are we doing with Cape Wine?
Well, Stellenbosch put on one of the opening functions on Sunday night. We had 250 people on the slopes of the Helderberg with the sunset, just doing exactly what it was supposed to do. And then we surprised them by bringing in the 116-piece Stellenbosch University Choir. So we blew all the foreigners away. And with that kind of potent cocktail of marketing, everybody was very, very impressed. And the wines tasted amazing.
Which is no surprise, of course, because it is a great bottled well. And Stellenbosch forms part of this collective South African drive that an event like this is giving a real impetus to. And without wanting to be too overconfident about where we are, after some fairly dark times, I get the real sense that we're heading quite firmly in the right direction.
Well, it's the old metaphor of the elastic band that's been stretched. I think South Africa is bouncing back faster than any of our competitors, which is a great thing. I also truly applaud the theme of the whole of Cape Wine, which is sustainability. We need to stop paying lip service to it, and South African wine is really stepping up to the plate and actually doing something about it, and it's being recognized. So it is becoming a significant USP for South African wine because people actually do care. Consumers care about the environment.
And that's something that I know fits very much into the Villafonte framework as we move over to one of the many other roles you have. And it's a brand that has got a whole amount of international recognition. I've lost track of the number of awards you won over the last few years. And it's a really good example of a South African brand that I think has got that mix right, not forgetting that home is such a big and important market, led by Johannesburg and the bulk of South Africa's wine sales, but that having these flagship outposts around the world where our wines, in your case Villafonte, are known, are loved, are enjoyed, it gives us a really nice balance.
It's a really good balance, and it's really nice that so many of these countries are represented here today with significant and serious buyers, actually here with a checkbook. It's all very well educating people, but when they get educated and at the end of it write a check, that is the most important. One of the great tragedies, which is not of our making, is that possibly the fastest growing wine market in the world, China, isn't represented here today because of their COVID laws, and it's a real pity. But I do think that we'll have to get on a plane when we can and go visit them and take the mountain to Muhammad.
I might come along for that one. It sounds like it should be a great deal of fun. We spoke a little earlier with Graham from Capensis, who was talking about in the American market, the acceptance of South African wine at a higher price point becoming a little more commonplace. It's been a particular crusade of yours, and you've refused to compromise on that, very rightfully so. And you and I have had many conversations about dispelling the myth of South Africa being a supermarket brand only. Sustainability has many forms. I think that is a financial sustainability. How important are these 3 days going to be in continuing to push South African wine into that bracket?
I think it's very important. It's part of an ongoing crusade. A lot of people wonder why they can't get their wines into their brackets. Well, you need to actually charge the price before you can get into that bracket. I see at the high end, South Africa's greatest wines are becoming accepted, not just accepted, easily accepted, and sometimes even at the highest prices offering dramatic value relative to peers at a similar price. So that's where you want to be. If you're going to be at a higher price bracket, if you want to sell a bottle of wine at 50 or 100 pounds or dollars, and you can be there and your wine actually tastes better than your competitors, then you've probably got a much longer lifespan on that wine list or on that shelf.
I know there are big queues at the Villafonte stand, so I won't hold you up too long. I do need to know, though, about early November, because I believe I should be stocking up my cellar and not taking calls from my bank manager.
Yes, 1st of November, it's always a big date for Villafonte. It's the release of the new 2020 Series C. We're super excited about it. Our clients are ready, the market is ready, so yeah, the wine will be shipped and be in all of our clients on the 1st of November. Big date for us.
Put that one in the diary. Great week for Villafonte, great week for Stellenbosch Wine Routes, and great week for South African wine, which explains why you look so happy. Thank you for the time, Michael, and look forward to the 1st of November.
Thanks, Dan. Goodbye to everyone in Dan Nickel-Land. See you later.
Mike Radcliffe of Villafonte of Stellenbosch Wine Routes, and a man who knows the wine scene rather well, one of our eminent wine marketers joining us on the show. Right, we're now going to do something a little different. We're going to bring in not one but two more guests to come and join us. I'm going to shift over ever so slightly as one of them slips into shot, and that is Mr. Ian Nodir, and then a gentleman called Yanis, who's joining us all the way from Greece. Gentlemen, welcome. It is lovely to have you both here with some wine as well. Pop it on there. And
it's a wine show, so we have to. And we've got one night to share.
Let's pop that. Just we can clip that on there. That'll be fine. And Yanis, welcome to South Africa. You promised me you'd come, and you've made good on your promise.
I always do.
Let's get your thoughts first of all. Coming from Greece, where, as I know more than most, the wine industry is so exciting. You're coming here to Cape Wine. What are your thoughts on this so far?
I think it's equally exciting. So many places, so many different appellations, terroirs, so many different varieties, so many new efforts, young people making their own wine. I think, it's a great environment to be in.
It also allows you to hang out with your accomplice here. And have you got used to the fact that people keep stopping him for selfies and wanting bottles signed? And Yeah, I want to get T-shirts autographed.
Wear t-shirts.
I think he's enjoying his moment.
And this is an opportunity for you to do two things: just to have a look at the South African wine world and learn from it, as I no doubt you will, but also to get a feel for a market that you've started to move into, because we're now seeing your quite exceptional Santorini Assyrtiko here in South Africa.
Yeah. Look, I think it's more, as you know, having just finished harvest, for me it's more of a holiday, and getting to spend some time with Ian and see new things and see different things, broaden my wine horizons, taste new things, rather than market my wine. I think my wine is in very good hands here in South Africa, so I'm not going to bother too much with that, despite the fact that there's a bottle of my wine on the table right now.
Which is looking very, very alluring. Ian, what about for you? You've been in the industry for a fair while now.
Yes.
You've got a better feel for it than most. When you see this event, how much does it say to you the South African wine industry has shot forward from when you started out to where we are today?
You know, Dan, I always say to the young guys, it's when we went to London, you walked into a top-end wine shop and you would say, do you have South African wine? And they go, yeah, right back in the corner is a bottle of Ubiqua and 2 Oceans. But you couldn't see it under the dust, firstly. It's like, oh God, and we want to get into this. And you literally fast forward 25 years and you talk to a lot of these people and they say, it's the most exciting wine country. And I always think, a lot of things gets thrown to us. It's survival here. I always say, you can't go further south. You have to stop here. Next is Antarctica. So you have to make it work here. And we have this survival energy almost, where we are going to make it work. If plan A and B doesn't work, C and D will work. And I think you can see it here, and you walk down here and you look at all these young kids and you're like, I don't worry doing my wines in London anymore. I have to compete with these guys. Unbelievable. The energy, the excitement, the cultivars that comes out, and they fearless. But not fearless in a bad way. It's almost like they believe 100% in what they're doing. They don't have that baggage which we had, which we were almost like, I'm sorry, would you like to taste my wine? And it's changed where they almost say they want them wines to be tasted. And I think we're in an incredibly healthy way. And there was one wine writer a year ago from England who said, South Africa has been climbing. When is this wave going to break? And I said to him, honestly, we're only starting. We're finding new ways in Vescas. We're starting things that was there for 300 years, but nobody tapped into it. And I think very healthy.
And I think that speaks to one of the wines we have here. And you talk about these young guns, or these young guns are inspired by people like you. And you brought out your Colombard, and everybody shook their touches. Ian's finally lost it now. Bringing out a Colombard, what on earth is he doing? Now Lankbad has 5 stars from Platter, and not a month goes by when I don't see another one of our young stars who's also gone the Colombard way. So I think you have to take some credit for the inspiration, but it also it does underscore we're an exciting wine country, and we're not afraid to have a go.
Definitely. You know what the beauty is? It's not just our country. You reach out with people like Janis in Greece, and they exchange students that you interviewed with them. It's not just South Africa anymore. And what I love about South Africa, we don't do where we close, it's ours, and we're not sharing. And if you look at Janis now and how open people are to taste these wines, the young girls we sent there, which was a huge success, and it's just now almost cross-cultural, starting to grow. Can't be prouder, honestly.
I know you guys have got plenty of wine to drink, so before I let you go, Ian, just as we look at what this event can achieve, there are issues of sustainability, there are issues of showcasing what we can do to the world. What for you would be the most important takeaway from a successful Cape Wine?
I'm going to go a completely different direction. The Ubuntu of South Africa. I honestly think I've had so many people at the stand, and they all say they get goosebumps when they're here. They go to all the best wine shows in the world. And I think we're one of the few countries, if not the only, where we actually help each other. I won't bottle of wine before 5 or 6 of my best mates as it tasted it. I think the quality is there, we're there, but it's that Ubuntu thing, that you can't buy, you can't cultivate it. It's there or not. And I think if everybody can go back and say, I've seen something, the wine quality was there, but I can see what's happening in this country. I would love that, honestly.
And if I can extend that question to a Greek perspective, from what you've seen, not just with your interactions with the Grandmaster here, but from the time at Cape Wine, what would you take back, not just for yourself as Vasaltis, but for Greek wine, that you feel South Africa's done really well that Greece could learn from as a wine producing country?
I think it's more or less what he said. I see all the winemakers being together as a group, helping out, and you go and taste their wines, and they're like, no, you should taste the guys next to me, and I think it's this togetherness that we lack a lot in Greece. We're a bit more competitive.
One last word from you, Yanis. The Sirtiko is so well known from you, from Santorini as a whole. As we spoke about when we were in Athens together not that long ago, it's not just a Sirtiko for you, and the red wine in particular just starting to find some traction.
I think so. I think there's some nice red wines coming out of Greece. I think Greece is going beyond the era of over extraction and barrel aging and going on to lighter, more playful reds that I think work better with our weather and our food.
And if you want to get a real understanding of that, then just book yourself a flight. When you arrive at Greece, all you have to do is show a wine label from Vasaltis. You won't need a visa, you don't need accommodation, they'll look after you, you'll be absolutely fine. Guys, thank you so much. It's lovely to have you both here.
It's a pleasure.
Enjoy Cape Wine, and I think we might sneak in a glass or two together a little later.
Please, we're waiting for you.
Do it.
So there we go. The great Ian Nodir, together with Yanis is basically the president of Santorini, and he is making some terrific wine. And that just about wraps us up. We have only one guest to go. We're going to wrap up on a high note, and that's with somebody who's doing a wonderful job of taking South African wine to the UK market. We've spoken about the Americas, we've had a little conversation with Greece, we've spoken about wine here in South Africa, but now let's go over to the UK and to the sector agencies, who are as good as it gets when it comes to taking South African wine around the UK. David, welcome, lovely to have you.
Thank you for having me on, Dan. It's great to be here. Really appreciate it.
And I've got to get a first impression. We're only a few hours into Cape Wine. We're all rather proud of it. What do you think of it so far?
Basically very excited to be here. It's been 4 years since the last Cape Wine, and I've been coming to South Africa since '97. So every time I come here, it's a special treat. But there feels like a real energy, a real buzz around the room. And speaking with our own partners and partners from our, let's say, competitors, everyone is on a new high. Very exciting.
Does that extend to what you're seeing for South African wine and its presence in the UK? Are people equally excited about what we're doing and sending your way?
Yeah, I think the exciting thing that we found in the last 5 or 6 years is the value of South African wines is now much more appreciated. You have all the international varietals, Chardonnay, Cabernet Sauvignon, for example. But look at what you're doing with, let's say, local varietals, Chenin, Pinotage, Colombard. And I think when you add on the sustainability angle, which is obviously very much at the forefront for everyone, South Africa is the full package. Speaking to journalists, friends of mine, for the visit, asking them what they think about South Africa, one direct quote was from a journalist who writes for the Times: it's the most exciting wine-producing country in the world at the moment.
It's also one that is making some shifts, we hope. We were speaking a little earlier to Graham from Capensis. I was in Hedonist Wines in Mayfair on Monday, and there was a bottle of Capensis at £184. Not that long ago, people would have laughed at you, especially a bottle of white from a little-known name. But people, I think, in the UK are starting to accept South African wines in that kind of space. Are you experiencing that from what you're doing?
Yeah, the partners that we work with from South Africa are all, let's say, they're either family-owned and they're certainly all premium wines. The average price of a bottle of wine in the UK is still around £6, £6.20. Now, South Africa at £10 and above is growing as fast as any other country, apart from France, which have just traditionally always had a big footprint in the UK. So for those premium producers thinking about, should we it's expensive, it's a long-term project to export to the UK, then we would encourage them to find a really good agent, and the journey can be taken. I always talk about Rustenburg, one of our partners in the UK. People say Rustenburg's everywhere. No, they say for me it's a 40-year overnight success. Simon Barlow was treading the streets of London 40 years ago, and here we are now.
You've also got brands like Paul Kluver, run of course by the former star of Seinfeld, and a number of others. Tell me about some of those brands you represent and why you feel they're being successful.
So it's really critical for us. We feel that we are seen as the UK's specialist South African premium importer. So we need partners from those areas which, Paul Kluver is a good example. He was a pioneer in that area, him and his father. Bishop Finlayson in Walker Bay, Darling Sallows on the west coast. They're not all running around in shorts and long beards. They're friends to the west, but there are some amazing wines there. And Stellenbosch is still I think the Swartland Revolution brought a load of new shoppers, new noise to South Africa and what it means in the UK. Because there may have been a bit of a message saying, oh, it's South Africa, oh, it's okay. No, RD, Eben, Duncan, that crowd, they've revived a lot of the things that as John Engelbrecht said last night, Cabernet is not new news. Stellenbosch Cabernet Stellenbosch Cabernet can't be beaten in South Africa. It's just incredible value.
In terms of the UK market, I've walked into Tesco's and similar, and I've seen where a lot of South African wine sits, but those upper ends, what are people really excited about in the UK that's coming out of South Africa?
So that's a really good point when you mentioned Tesco. So they have a premium strategy, and up until 6-12 months ago, South Africa was not really part of that strategy. Now you can walk into a Tesco, find Canon Cup, Cape Blend, the ambassadorial wine for that world famous brand in most Tesco. You can find Constitution Road, a Robertson winery in Tesco. Look at the role that Waitrose have played in inspiring and energising other retailers to say, right, we want some of the action that's going on in Waitrose right now. And Tesco is a very good example because you can get great Chenin. You've got Stellenbosch there, you've got other amazing producers, such as Journey Down, Canon Cop. Rustenburg are now also in Tesco.
It's terrific to see, and that footprint will grow. It will also grow in some markets based on people's understanding of not just the wine, but what's going into it. And sustainability is a big driver of this particular expo. How much are people in the UK, especially in that more premium space, looking at a wine and saying, well, what is its carbon footprint? How heavy is this bottle? What is this winery doing to ensure that the world is a better place?
So that's a really important point, and I know South Africa is the only country in the world with a sustainable seal on every single bottle of wine. So that's a really important message. I just wonder if we are actually saying enough about that. So that's the task for me to take back when I go back to the UK. But now when we are on a Tesco conference or a Waitrose conference, the lead is sustainability. What are you doing? And you think about biodiversity, you think about the awards, for example, that Paul Kluver themselves won only last week. It's really critical. It's not going away, and for English shoppers outside of our current, let's say, local difficulties, sustainability is at the forefront. We need to attract new shoppers constantly, and those new shoppers, customers need to be, let's say, younger than myself or even Craig from Kluver.
We've both got plenty of wine to drink this afternoon, so I won't keep you too much longer. I would like to know that you go back to 97, your first skirmishes with South African wine. As you look at it today in the context of Cape Wine, what's changed the most? What's been the biggest improvement? What's had the most impact for you on South African wine?
That is a good question. Thank you for that. It's a good point. I would say what struck me in 97 was looking at a great variety, for example, Colombard. I did a lot of work in Gascony at that time, and I came to South Africa and was trying this Colombard from wineries in Robertson and Worcester, thinking this is unbelievable wine. Decanter only this month are now talking about Colombard as being the new kid on the block, which is really come full circle, which I find fascinating. I also think about bush vines, which again in '97 we used a lot of bush vine fruit for our winemaking projects in and around those in Robertson, Worcester and Stellenbosch. And think about the old vine project as an example of that extension, and the old vine as a phrase is now starting to get resonance in the mind of the customer. Once you've got that emotional bond with the customer, then you have the trust. So yeah, the bush vines, which were then just being used as generic, now it's part of a really important part of the consumer journey. Say, right, I want to buy South Africa, what's my sustainability angle here? It's the fruit, it's the farmer, and we're in the business because it's a people business. We need that emotional connection. And looking around the room today, that emotional connection is very obvious to see.
Final question for you. People watching this are in the wine industry. They'd love to get into a UK market. You are selling their wine. Doesn't matter how good it is, you've still got to get it into restaurants, onto shelves, into supermarkets. What can they do better? Where do we still need to do a bit of work to make sure that we're getting the South African story out and we're getting people to understand just what we are capable of doing?
So the easy route is getting people over here, because as you said, straight back to 1997, my first view of Table Mountain. So imagery is really important, and the imagery are the facts here. Table Mountain just over there, obviously. People know the journey that the country's been on. They recognise that actually it's constant. So to use the phrase, you have to tell someone something, tell them, and then tell them that you told them. So we need to realising that from middle of the 17th century right up until 2022, the message is the same. It's great people make great wine for great customers. And the issue around value, yeah, we do need value, and that's really important. But getting simple messages across and keep doing the simple things. Well, I talk about capability with my suppliers. They say, I want to be in Waitrose, I want to be in Tesco. They need to have that capability. Do they know what they do best? Do what they do best, keep doing it, let me know what they think they do best, and then I can work with the retailers.
It is great having you out here. Thank you. Thank you for joining us on the show. And
my pleasure.
Thank you for being a great ambassador for South African wine.
I'll try my best. Thanks, Dan.
And that's the perfect note on which to wrap up our very special edition of the show from Cape Wine. We'll be back again at the same time tomorrow from 12 until 1 or thereabouts as we drink fabulous wine, meet fabulous people, and have a look at where South African wine finds itself in 2022. Also look out for our usual Thursday show tomorrow evening, and tomorrow morning we'll have a highlights package from today to see how day one has gone at Cape Wine 2022. This is Dan Really Likes Wine, presented by Pick n Pay. See you back again 12 tomorrow. Goodbye. To join the Pick n Pay Wine Club, simply SMS your smart shopper number to 36775. It's absolutely free, and you'll get for yourself 3 times the smart shopper points on every bottle of wine bought. You'll also get a 20% discount on 10 different wines each month, a 25% discount on a case of wine, and a Magnum, some terrific competitions and invitations to awesome events.